Time I upload from Twitch to YouTube, it usually captures a few extra seconds, so consider this filler text in case it does this, and we'll see how much it actually grabs. So, hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to my live letter XL, or 40, thoughts. This is the first part of the 4.2 preview, basically giving us a high-level overview of all the content that'll be there, including the .x5 series, as well as some additional details on certain systems in the patch itself. So there's a lot to go through here, so let's just get into it. We're doing unofficial translations first. As you can see at the top, this was courtesy of Discord and its translation thread, which is run by Aluna and Kavensky. I also want to shout out Hezkezel, who apologized in advance for the images being in 720p. I told him it was fine, but he apologized to me, so I'm going to forward that to you guys, so that way you know he means it. But this is also an unofficial translation. Luna is still going through and retranslating portions of this, so expect there to be little mistakes, little things that may not be 100% accurate. We will also source the official translation as well during this, so be sure to check there. Be sure to join the Reddit Discord if you haven't already, especially for things like translating and data mining and whatever, that kind of stuff. But anyway, let's get started. The first thing they showed off was the replay feature, which they're going to go into in greater detail later, so we should probably save that for when they go into the second half right now. That's what the first screenshot is. This is them just showing off. This was just them showing off the replay feature overall, but there's more on that later, which is more screenshots accompanying it. So we'll just go through and we'll get the general overview. And yes, this is how they seriously were dressed at the start of the live letter. All right, so 4.2's title is Rise of a New Sun, and you can see it right here in this art. Coming in late January 2018. I'm officially going to phone in January 30th, especially because they told us that the next live letter is January 19th, and they have a habit of the next patch being 10 to 11 days later. So January 30th, phoning it in. Just makes the end of January so much more interesting. As for the art, a lot of Omega characters in this art. Like in the forefront, you have Alpha, you have all of the Garland Ironworks pretty much. Also, Alpha being in a Garland Ironworks outfit is fantastic. So I'm curious what we know. It's going to be focused more on Doma. You can even see, look at the tiny little, oh, there's Midgard's armor back there. Look at Midgard's armor back there. It's going to be focused on Doma, and that's why it's weird that it's got so many Omega characters on it. So these are just, here's a couple of screenshots from the Doma storyline. You can see you have Yukiri, you have Hien, you have Brosetsu right here, of course, and we're looking forward to seeing that continue on. Both Doma and Alamigo taken back by the Garleans, then we are good to discover more there. We also confirmed new, oh my goodness, that sound though of that faucet. New Hildebrand storyline, we confirmed that will be coming, and that will specifically be coming from now on in .x5 patches, so 4.25, 4.35, etc., etc. They're going to do it as separate content, spread it out, especially because, I mean, that's just something that they've been leaning towards doing more and more as patches have gone on, is making sure not everything is in the big patch, and then they have, like, smaller things for you to do in the other in-between patches. So he from now on will be .x5 patches. So the next Hildebrand will be in 4.25, which I would personally expect to be early March. Also, the Ananta, the new Beast Tribes, a combat Beast Tribe. We don't know if and when we would be getting a new crafting Beast Tribe. At the earliest, 4.3. Maybe the Namazu, maybe something else. Who knows? But the Ananta are the next ones. You can see a couple of screenshots right here. We have what looks to be a child Ananta, if I had to take a guess, as well as another screenshot here of the Ananta casting some sort of spell in front of a bunch of golden relics of some kind. Relics is a taboo word until we get to talking about Eureka. 2 new instance dungeons, even numbered patches, we get 2 new max level dungeons. Odd number, we get 1 new max level dungeon. So our 2 new dungeons here are Hell's Lid, which looks like the Doma equivalent of Sastasha, if I had to give it a term in some kind. And there you can see, putting the O1 Savage model to good use, probably still harder than O1 Savage. So that's Hell's Lid, that's located in the Ruby Sea. And then also the Fractal Continuum hard mode, one of my favorite dungeons from Heavensward. Throughout all of Heavensward, it was the one dungeon I never got tired of doing. No matter how much I had to like farm for tomestones or anything, or how many roulettes I did, I always loved the Fractal Continuum. So apparently the dungeon is hinted to be going berserk. So I'd imagine all the experiments are breaking free, or the Allegan tech is going haywire or something like that. But you can see, like here, like the experiment tubes are busted up and things are in ruins, and literally a giant Allegan tombstone like as a boss. It's a giant USB stick Allegan tombstone. That's what that is. No other words are needed. All right. They wrote it looks like a USB for the unofficial one. New trials, the new Primal series for the 4.x series. So you may remember we had the Warring Triad series back in the 3.x series, which included Sephiroth, Sophia, and Zervan. For this one, we have the Four Lords, which I predicted quite some time ago, and those are none other than those Final Fantasy XI favorites of Byakuya, Seiryu, Suzaku, and Genbu. And we will be starting with Byakuya in the Jade, what's it called? The Jade Stoa. He looks a little stupid, I'm not gonna lie. His mouth looks a little screwed up, but that is the first of the Four Lords in that of Byakuya, and here's just one little quick screenshot. You can see him through the trees right here in the Jade Stoa himself. So the 4 images on the world map, predicting those to be the 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, and 4.5. Primal seems to be something that we can really grasp onto at this point. But just to answer a question I'm getting, probably not going to be the mount that you get. I'd imagine the mount is still going to be a Burb. So keep that in mind as well. There will be a normal mode, there will be an extreme mode, but it's not part of the main story. It's a separate series of quests. So expect to learn more about the Four Lords. Next is the next tier of Omega, and that is going to be the Sigmascape. So I think Sigma, feel free to correct me because I'm streaming live on Twitch right now. Sigma is the Greek number for 6. So it's led people to believe that that is the designation of which Final Fantasy we'll be pulling from. I don't really subscribe to that idea because Delta was 4 and that one had X-Death. So, which made sense considering the interdimensional rift, but still saying that, I don't know, we don't know what the bosses will be. We only know that, the Sigmascape is the next one. And we don't know anything else about it. There's literally nothing else. Oh, and that Alpha has, Garland Ironworks. That's all we know. So please look forward to it in the live letter on January 19th. Let's see. Contents will be held. So yeah, contents will be held till back to the next part of the patch. Yeah, so that's just them just not saying. Then they said the keyword. They said the keyword. Oh yeah, is Delta 3? Oh, Delta was 4. No, Delta. Never mind. Anyway, so they said the forbidden word, Eureka. Yeah. Eureka got mentioned under 4.2, and the first area of Eureka is called the Animos, or Animos, whichever one it may be. And they tried to, again, describe it. They've been describing it the same way, and we still just don't know enough about it. It's got a separate leveling system when you're in Eureka. So just because your character's level 70 doesn't mean you don't have a form of progression once you're already in there. So meaning you probably won't be able to take on the strongest of enemies available in Eureka just yet. To be clear, though, it is not the next deep dungeon. It's just one of the systems they have in the game. Sigma is the 18th Greek letter, according to my chat, actually. So we'll see. That's why I shouldn't guess these things, because it's 6 in the morning, and I don't actually know them off the top of my head. 18th letter of the Greek alphabet. So never mind. Just pretend like nothing matters. The last one's going to be the Omegascape anyway, because that's the end. So some additional details regarding Eureka. Here's another screenshot, like a concept art of it real quick, just to go over that. There are more official statements on the official forums from the translations coming from Square Enix in that Eureka is aiming for 4.25. I don't like that they used the word aiming because that's led to some situations in the past. Aiming for a patch has not always resulted in it being in a patch. But 4.25 is the current projected date for Eureka, the Forbidden Land. You're going to have relic weapons and relic armor, or at least they say, I shouldn't call it relic weapon, relic armor. There's going to be weapons and armor that can be upgraded inside of Eureka. That should be the more accurate term there. You're going to be focused on killing lots of notorious monsters, and they want you playing with as many other players as possible. We need to see what it actually boils down to in terms of gameplay, but I mean, most of us just think it'll be Diadem 3.0. Just wait and see. At the very least, Diadem didn't have a separate leveling system, but we'll see where it actually leads, and I'm just going to hold my thoughts, I suppose, until we have something more concrete, I suppose. Job adjustments, there's going to be more job adjustments. They specifically mentioned Black Mage needing adjustments in terms of usability and mobility and utility. And Warrior was also mentioned, but there wasn't really much more to go off of. I think the official translation says like warrior situations in which warrior is useful or something like that. I guess I could find it real quick. Job updates, job updates, job updates. Where is it? I just saw it. I just had it on the official one. Usability of warriors was the word that they used on the official forum. So whatever that means, who knows? It's good, bad, whatever. I'd imagine Shake It Off is usable everywhere. So can't really imagine that being anything but a nerf. So I hope it's not, but we'll see. I'd rather see Dark Knight's name dropped, to be honest. Warriors also mentioned, but they didn't tell us anything in specific. They just name dropped Black Mage and Warrior. Then they mentioned the Feast. The Feast is going to be getting quite a few updates. We have a new map, which they showed off later, which I thought looked fantastic. Rule revisions, which I don't know what to think of yet, and ranked team matches, which are mostly going to be used for esports purposes. Esports. We'll put it like that. So, basically, with the ranked team matches, the way it's going to work is it's almost like a separate free company, but just for PvP. It'll have its own chat channel where you can talk to your team members, and you can have 4 to 6 members on a team. And your goal is going to be to raise that team's ranking in order to be invited to participate in official tournaments with Square Enix, pretty much. There we go. They'll mention that later in the translation as well, and in the official translations. So, Glamour updates is the next big one. A lot of confusion regarding these Glamour updates, which again, they go into in greater detail later. The TLDR of it is what's in this, but we'll get into it more in a little bit. You can convert items to Glamours with the new Glamour commodes, which, yes, everyone is calling a Glamour toilet now, because, well, yeah. You can experiment with and save ensembles, and Glamour prisms are going to be converted into a single type. So this doesn't tell you a whole lot, but the translations that will come later will shed a lot more light on this, plus some of the unofficial and official translations should clarify some of the questions people have regarding the system. One of the other big updates, stackable items will now go up to 999, which in terms of the market board scares me. But in terms of saving inventory space, Aetheryte tickets, tokens that you may be collecting, potions, food for raids, stuff like that, you can, I mean, having up to 1,000, almost 1,000 in a stack is incredibly awesome. The undo sort was added, so if you accidentally sort your inventory, you can undo it. I mean, just a nice little thing for them to have. And Chocobo saddlebags, which we'll get into in a little bit, but TLDR, 70 extra inventory spaces accessible from your Chocobo. I think my headset just turned off. I don't know if you guys heard that, but no sound coming through, so that's what it does. Let's see. Also, housing. We're going to be getting more plots in 4.2. We don't know how many yet. The official translation says plots will start being added 1 week after 4.2 launches, so not January 30th. It would be the following first Tuesday of February. This unofficial translation also says that they will not all be opened immediately, and they will gradually be opened. Thank you, Los Angeles, by the way. Because of what happened last time, instead of just doing it all at once, just doing it over time would be probably the more efficient thing for them. You're going to be able to teleport to your friends' estates now. You can... they're going to let you keep fixtures, both exterior and interior, when being removed, and change to the plot purchasing system, which they won't give us details until literally like right before 4.2. So we'll have to wait another month, a little bit longer, in order to figure out more regarding that. Also, subaquatic voyages. I can't imagine this being much more than just the submarine version of the airship voyages, which is how they seem to be wording it, where you discover sectors and you send them off. So I don't know how much it really matters. I mean, unless it's going to unlock a subaquatic diadem, I don't really see it being much of a super involved process outside of the initial free company crafting in order to get it. But they didn't give us any information, so please continue to speculate. Hi. The new UI for Perform was also shown. This is going to be the official UI for Perform now that people are starting to get the hang of it and are really starting to enjoy it. Putting a lot of extra work in to make sure that it can be as comfortable on keyboard or controller as possible. I know a lot of people have been plugging in things like MIDI keyboards and doing their best to deal with the delay that can sometimes come with it, which they've also made additional efforts in order to reduce said delay. New sounds are going to be added, up to 4 instruments. We don't know if mayonnaise is going to be one of them yet, but we can only speculate at this point. I believe string instruments was mentioned, so probably not mayonnaise. And then we'll just have to wait to see how that actually ends up panning out for Perform. New tombstone was announced. It's called Mendacity, so now you can say you're farming men. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I think it's a name. It deals with untruthfulness, is what everyone was telling us. So these are all lies. All of these are lies. That's all you need to know. Let's see. Main scenario dungeons will be adjusted. On the official translation, they made it seem like it would the only way to skip cutscenes in the main scenario dungeons, specifically referring to Castrum, Meridianum, and the Praetorium, they made it seem like the only way to skip the cutscenes would be if everyone agreed to skip the cutscene, which could make the dungeons go longer, but as such, they said they would be increasing the rewards for it. I'd imagine that's more experience points, but we'll need additional information. How about that? And that's all for now. There's going to be other things, more dungeons for squadrons, updates to the hidden canals of Uznair. Leveling crafters from 50 to 60 is going to be sped up a little bit. So they're going to be adjusting the XP rate for that. We have this amazing screenshot of Yoshida, which someone will probably turn into a Twitch emote or just another meme altogether. It's fantastic. I love it. Let's see. So they said that they know they went through it really fast without explaining much, but they said it's a lot of things and that they're going to be talking about more in part 2. Anyway, that was the end of part 1. They then showed off a little bit of footage from their trip to Seoul for the Seoul Fan Fest. And then also, Soken doing the Lalafell Play Dead emote, which is a great taste, if I can say myself. Then they got to the second part where they went into greater details on the feast, the saddlebags, the glamour system, and I believe one other thing. So the new map is the Crystal Tower Training Grounds for the feast. Now this is not located in the Crystal Tower. It's simply designed with the in the model of the Crystal Tower. So for those of you wondering how it has any affiliation with the Crystal Tower lore, it doesn't. And they made a point to clarify that. It's just an arena that's designed to look like the Crystal Tower. Match length is going to be reduced from 8 minutes to 6 minutes. For that reason, they have to pretty much adjust everything. Supply box timings, culling duration, stack increase rate, adrenaline gauge. They're completely removing offensive and defensive supplies. And they're changing player respawn so that when you die, when you're KO'd in the feast, you actually resurrect where your character already is with full MP, full TP, and temporary invulnerability in order to get immediately back into the action and be at as much efficiency so you can help your team come back as possible. How that actually affects the feast, I couldn't say for certain as I haven't done much of it in recent times. I just haven't enjoyed some of the changes and haven't gotten too involved. But, we'll see how it actually ends up panning out, what the PvP community themselves, the experienced ones, have to say about it at a later time. Also, they're changing the way that medals work based on roll. So you have a maximum medal count that you can carry per roll now. So healers can only hold up to 125 medals, range DPS 150, melee DPS 175, and tanks up to 200. So obviously that's going to change the way that the increased damage for heavy metal is going to work. But they're also adding an additional thing where if you have less medals, less than the initial starting amount, so let's say you start with 100 and you now have 50 medals because you've been killed, you will take less damage for having less than the initial starting amount of medals. I'd imagine that's so you can't just kill, you're not really tempted to just kill the same person over and over again to maintain an advantage, for example, the healer, and to actually go after the people with the higher medal counts because they're actually probably somewhat more attainable to kill. Again, not experienced with recent feasts, so don't want to comment on it too much. Curious to see what the PvP community actually has to say about it. So that was end of the rule details for the feast. Then this was the ranked matches thing. This is the thing I mentioned earlier where it's like a free company for PvP. You have your own chat, and this will be used to invite people to tournaments and stuff like that. So if you have a PvP community, or you have a few friends that you always PvP with, and you want to get into ranked matches and go participate in official feast tournaments, this will be something that you look to participate in. It's 4 to 6 members, so you have like 2 subs pretty much that you can filter in if like one of these 4 can't make it. And yeah, good luck. Good luck those of you competing, because I probably won't. That's just that's just the way it is. Here's where they say team requirements. All of them must have PvP unlocked, and the feast 4v4 ranked match. Teams with 6 must first form a party of 4. So if you only have 4 people in your thing and you're online, I guess you can queue in as the whole team. If you have 6 players, or I'd imagine 5 players would qualify with this as well. You have to first form a party of 4 instead of just queuing like as your ranked team, I suppose. Team ranking. So now they have 2 things. You have team ranking and team tiers. Team ranking, value that represents a player's relative skill as a member of an organized team and affected by the outcome of 4-on-4 ranked team matches. You also have team tiers, which is determined by the total team ranking. So your team ranking is not your team altogether. It's you as an individual and your it's too early for me to words. your effect on the team's performance. So your individual effect on the team's performance. Whereas team tiers are determined by everyone's collectively within the team. So it's the total skill, it's the collective skill of the team. And and you'll move up and down tiers depending on the total team's performance. And that's how you actually go up and down in the like, I guess, their actual ranking system. So that was it for the feast. So they're really looking to kind of push people or give them more incentives to participate in PvP as a structured team, as opposed to just solo queuing all the time, which is kind of what it's fallen to right now with the ins and outs and the doodads of going through win trading and all that stuff. Oh man, that's another reason why I couldn't really get too much into PvP. All that stuff was just always bogging down the conversation. But anyway, moving on to the next one, Glamour system updates. We all wanted a transmogrification system, and we got something pretty close to it. We have the Glamour commodes and the Glamour ensembles. Now, basically what this system is it's something accessible from your in-room, or I believe, actually, yeah, you need to be in your in-room for this. Convert items to Glamours with Glamour commodes and create Glamour ensembles. Using Glamours has never been easier. So, this immediately had people assuming a few things. The first, that this would completely uproot the previous Glamour system. Through unofficial translations as well as an official comment saying that you could continue to use your Glamours as normal, should you desire, it has been confirmed that this is in addition to the old Glamour system, and it is not a complete replacement. I say that now because as I describe the system, you'll probably think of things that you don't like about this, that you liked about the old one, and there will be things you like about that you don't like about this, or that you do like about this compared to the old one. So just want to clarify that now. It is not a complete replacement. It is in addition to existing Glamours. And if you have existing Glamours when this comes out, you don't need to worry. They'll still continue to function as normal. So, moving into what it actually is. You can store items in the commode. Yes, it stores them. You convert them into the Glamour toilet. And you can also retrieve them from the Glamour toilet. That has also been confirmed. And you can then use them to create one of 10 different ensembles. Ensembles allow you to do things such as have the same gear with different dyes, to have one piece of gear have two different Glamours. For example, if you have Paladin and Warrior and you want them to have completely separate Glamours, but they share the same normal gear, you can make a Paladin ensemble and a Warrior ensemble and have them look completely different if you desire, whether it be different colors, different actual Glamours. You can do that using the ensemble system. Now, keep in mind, in terms of items you can actually store in the commode, it stores up to 200 items total, which is really nice, even if you're not planning on using the commodes. Like, if you're someone like me who doesn't Glamour much anyway, although this may push me into actually using it occasionally, it's at the very least a place to store 200 items that you may or may not be using. So at the very least, look at it in that light. You can have up to 10 different ensembles, which I know with 15 jobs doesn't seem like enough, but they may expand it in the future if the system itself goes over well, which, considering Glamour is the true endgame, probably will. Probably will. So here we go with the step-by-step explanation. Commodes are available inside in-rooms and can be used to convert items to Glamours for use on ensembles. And like I said, like I already said, it's been confirmed you can retrieve the commodes, in a sense. Converting an item costs a Glamour prism, and like I said, it can retain up to 200. Now, items converted to Glamours can no longer be used as equipment. That was the reason, that was the thing that got people very, very, very scared. You can retrieve them. Okay. Certain items, such as those that can be stored in armoires, cannot be converted to Glamours. That's not saying you can't use them in the commodes. They can't be converted because, according to the official translation, which I think I should read at this point, considering it has some clarifications, certain items, such as those that can be stored in the armoire, do not need to be converted to Glamours. That implies that they're available. Now, do not need to be converted. Does not need to be converted. That doesn't sound like can't be used. That sounds like doesn't need to be done separately since it's already in the armoire. So maybe that's different. That's my interpretation of it. Just the words that are being used. Hopefully we get clarification on it. But I'm just giving you what I got right here. All right, that's all I'm giving you right here. Going back to this one. Going to the next thing. Here you go, creating an ensemble. So here's what ensemble looks like. Use glamours in your commons and items in, and yeah, so it says actually right here. Use glamours in your commode, and items in your armoire. It says it right there. There you go. To create ensembles. So if an item's in your armoire, it qualifies for the glamour system as well. That's double good because it means nothing in your armoire is taking up one of those 200 spaces and it's still equally accessible. It now means that when they add new items for events, the fact that it's not immediately in the available for armoire use is a little annoying. But it means things like artifact armor or old seasonal event items and stuff that's big. It's almost like an extension of the armoire in a set. But keep in mind they will take up your set. Now, according to my chat, let's see. According to my chat, items in the armoire, let's see, might take up spaces still. I'm curious if they would do that. That doesn't really make much sense to me. If your armoire items would take up those slots. It's possible, and it's probable, more likely, but I don't know if I like that. I will wait and see. I guess that's something we still need a hard confirmation on. So I'll take that back. Won't speculate on that. All I need to know is that's it. Because yeah, my chat pointed out I have over 200 items in my armoire. So if it were to count toward that limit, it would suck. So let's just hope that it doesn't. Let's just hope that's just an additional 200 items. Anyway, so players may save up to 10 ensembles. Ensembles may be used in cities, in rooms, residential areas, and Ivory Chapel. That means that if you're in the middle of a raid, you can't change your ensemble. You can change your glamour with the normal glamour system, but you can't change your ensemble. There you go. So, there you go. Items and ensembles also may be dyed. So important to note, you can have the same item in two different ensembles dyed two different colors. Another thing to clarify there. Whew, man, this is a lot of stuff, a lot of words here. So there you go. Now a question I'm getting in my chat will be 10 sets per job. I don't think that's officially mentioned anywhere. I think it's 10 sets total, but I don't see it mentioned anywhere. I'm pretty sure it's 10 sets total for the ensembles. But yeah, I mean, so if you have an existing glamour system, if you have existing glamour, you don't have to worry about it for now. If you plan on using the new system, it's there. You'll have access to items in your armoire, plus the items you actually convert into glamours. So you'll have plenty of options. It's not perfect. Obviously, it's a little annoying having to go back to your in-room to convert items to a commode. Obviously, it'd be nice to be able to do it anywhere as opposed to having to worry about being in a city or anything along those lines. But it's still, even if it's only 10 sets, even if it's only 200 items, you know what? It's on top of what we had before. We didn't have it before, and it can be added to in the future. It's important to note all of those things. So 10 total sets, 200 total items. Some people thought it was 200 items per slot as well, but no, it's 200 total items. And I'm looking forward to it. I might actually use glamours with something like this. But we'll see how they improve it in the future. And enjoy. Please enjoy your new ensemble system. Duty Recorder. Now, this one was a little weird. As a content creator, you'd expect this would be the one I was most excited for. But it was a little odd, this functionality, in my opinion. So basically, the Duty Recorder allows you to record an instance and all the time you spent in it into the game itself and go back and replay it and look at it and take screenshots or use it for strategic purposes or whatever it is you're actually going to be doing. That does come with some caveats, though. Record and revisit your adventures and instance duties. You can also view recordings from the perspective of other party members. There's a lot of little things about that were pretty nice. For one, it doesn't save the names of your party members, so it just says like monk, white mage, black mage. So as a content creator, that's really nice. You know, if you're a healer and then I go to the white mage, it just shows white mage. It's irrelevant. If the person's name was Afflegog Wigglebutt, you know, I don't have to worry about their name being obnoxiously long in the content. And on top of that, it just gets to the point. This is what the white mage is doing. There's no confusion whatsoever regarding who you're actually watching. And you can find out who messed up in a fight. There's also a bunch of other things. It also has the boss's POV. You can even enter group pose when you're in the Duty Recorder, and it's good. Now, I want to be very clear about the way this thing works. It does not video record your duty. It records all the actions taken and replicates them within the game client. It's not saved to a local file as a folder. It's not a separate program. So it does come with some limitations for that reason, which we'll get into here in a couple of minutes. Let's see what the next tab. So up to 3 may be saved at a given time. So you can only have a total of 3 of these duty recordings being saved in the game itself. And on top of that, you must meet the following conditions. You must enable duty record. In order to enable it, you must initiate a ready check with your party members. They must all provide their consent for you to use the feature. And parties must meet minimum size requirements. So if something requires 8 people and you want to undersize Titan with 2 people for some reason, you can't use this for that. It's not meant to be used for things like that, which does also come with some kind of annoying side effects. It means that for content creation, it does have that kind of severe limitation. I'd imagine it has something to do with the amount of, I guess they want to limit its functionality or how much data people use it for. So they don't just like record random stuff. On top of that, you can't use it in random duty finder groups. You have to use it pretty much in pre-made parties in a sense. So like I couldn't go into a 24-man raid with just the full 8-man pre-made and record the whole 24-man. I wouldn't even be able to get the consent of the other 16 people. I need to make a full like Royal City of Rabenaster group with 24 of my own people and then still ask them for consent. So keep that in mind. Will not be available for duty finder based parties. This is to ensure the privacy of party members that is completely strange can be mitigated without too many unwanted dramas. Yeah. Record ready check uses the same as the ready check. Everyone has to consent only for the feature to be enabled. So even if you consent, it doesn't actually have to be enabled. Thank you, Los Angeles, by the way. Feature is not majority based. So it's like it's not 7 out of 8, it's 8 out of 8. It can't win with a 5/3 vote with this one. One player rejected ready check will disable the recording completely. They showed off a little bit more here. This is where they mentioned the names. They're recorded from the start of the duty up until the end of the duty. So the duty length is 120 minutes. The recording will be 120 minutes. This is not recording, takes up storage. It's related to packet exchange from a technical standpoint. It's how the Street Fighter replay feature is done. So yeah, again, it's based on button inputs pretty much. You can also see the POV standard. And then you can see right here, reviewing. These can be reviewed inside in-rooms. For all these things they're doing inside in-rooms, they should really do them in the, I don't know, the apartments, the private housing that we have at the game. Probably be nice to have a system for accessing these things there. At least at the I guess the apartments and the rooms inside the Free Company house. No, it's just inside housing. It's just annoying that we have housing and then we have to go back to the in-room in order to use this stuff. And if you want to overwrite one, yeah, you can. Yeah. Let's see. You can only replay yeah, you can replay features only in the in-room. Error message, this replay feature cannot be replayed due to data being too old will occur if your data is completely recorded in distant past. For example, any job actions that are abolished or new job actions added on new patches or new expansions will cause the replay data to become completely obsolete. That's because, again, of the way it records the packets. So if a packet doesn't exist anymore, I suppose, it kind of screws up. That means they have to be very good about telling us if they're adding new abilities. Because they can't now introduce this feature and then at 4.3 be like, we're making adjustments to jobs, and they just add a new skill. They have to say, hey, we're adding a new skill, which means your replays will be destroyed. So they really need to be vocal about that. And I hope they understand that because, I mean, to be fair, how long do you really want to hold on to the recording? But you never know. It could be something that you just did the other day and you haven't gotten to it yet for whatever reason, and now you need to go back and do it again. So, yeah. And then they just go over different things. Play, pause, normal speed, 2x speed, 4x speed, set focus target, hide HUD, help, pose as group, switch to idling camera, next chapter, previous chapter, chapter select. Chapters being phases, by the way, pretty much. And there's some other stuff there as well. So keep all of that in mind. They showed off a few more pictures. Also, battle logs are not recorded, so you can't like parse a replay, or you also, it also is to reduce the amount of data that's actually being stored within the replay itself. And there's also no slow feature, which people pointed out. It said because most global school, the most skill global cooldown is set to 2.42 seconds by default, which is, that was 2.5, but anyway. Making a slow feature will influence the packet data of the game. So again, they're just trying to make sure that it does not screw up. And then just Yoshida showing more footage of it. There you go. Dev team did it. They were testing it. Inventory updates. This is where they showed like stacking to 999. You can see, you know, the 140 inventory spaces with the 35 out of 140. This is the Chocobo saddle over here, which I guess I should probably scroll down to the other stuff. Here's the inventory updates, undo, sort added, that stuff. And then here you go, the Chocobo saddle. So Chocobo saddlebags, available upon unlocking personal Chocobo, stores up to 70 additional items. Saddlebags cannot be accessed inside instanced duties. They also cannot be used for things like putting up for, they can't be used normally. They have to be taken out of the saddlebag before they can be used, before they can be put up for sale, before they can be delivered, used as components for crafting, basically anything. It's storage only. You cannot access those items for direct use. So what you can do is take them out of the bag when you do need them and then use them separately. So it should help, again, with inventory stuff. Those are pretty good inventory changes overall. Just remember, really important thing regarding the Chocobo, make sure that when the patch goes live and you have your Chocobo, you go to the naming NPC and you rename them Tackle Box, because that's pretty much the only Tackle Box you're going to be getting in this game is your Chocobo, at least from the way I'm seeing it at this point. So yeah, extra inventory space. And then that end part 1, so this is where they started going over, they showed a few more things off here, just duty recording, how far they are along. So then they did announcements. They announced the next series of fan festivals, North America, will be at the Rio in Las Vegas, Nevada, November 15th, early registration, 6th, why don't I just scroll down? November 15th, 16th, and 17th, that's at the Rio Hotel in Las Vegas. I'll be going, of course, so I will see all of you there. Europe doesn't have a date yet, but it's in France, and it's going to be early 2019. It will be a 2-day event. Japan will be March 23rd and March 24th. So please look forward to those dates. I feel like those are less spread out, maybe slightly. Like, it's a month later than it normally was, but they feel less stretched out. Maybe it's just me. I don't really remember the dates for the last one other than the North American one being October. So... additional info, Makuhari Messe Hall is Hall 4, 5, and 6, so I'm assuming that's for Japan. It's the same venue that hosts the Tokyo Game Show on a yearly basis. Nice. Nice. Oh, they had another tab that I could have used. All Suite Hotel and Casino. There you go. Let's see. Then they went over, don't forget the Christmas Bear event. I mean, the Starlight Celebration event is going on right now. Go get your Christmas bears. Here's your present, bitch. Heavenstern starts on December 31st. So be on the lookout for the Shiba, the doggo hat. Enjoy your doggo hats, ladies and gentlemen. The Eorzean Symphony, they've had this on like the last bunch, $70, contains all the tracks. If it would load, please. Net neutrality, come on. Blu-ray disc music featuring footage of all 18 songs performed by the symphony. Also includes high-quality audio versions of 10 songs. Also has a bonus for in-game items, Orchestra Ultimate, Orchestra Heroes, and that's just Orchestra Ultimate, Orchestra Heroes, Orchestrion Rolls. There you go. And then they also had the official Stormblood art book, which I think becomes available on February 28th. I think that's here in the translations. I think someone mentions that. Yeah, released 26th. February 26th for the NA store. It also comes with a wind-up Yatsuyu. Another thing to keep in mind right here. There you go. It's $40, $40 US, 29 or 34.99 the euro, and it looks like 29.99 the pound. So that, yeah, February 26th. There you go. Oh, it's on the very next slide anyway. And then there's Yatsuyu. Wind-up Yatsuyu. Will you be stepped on? Oh yeah. You have a hooded scarf for carbuncles. Lego-themed Mog and Chocobo, in case you're interested in that stuff. It's called a Nano Block. And those are 1,300 yen each. And those are on the Japanese e-store. And also a Shiva statue, which is like $145 before shipping. And that's also going to come with the Diamond Dust emote. I remember seeing somebody post something about the Diamond Dust emote on Reddit, so I guess it's probably been in the game files for a while now. But that'll go on sale mid-February 2018 as well, and the pre-orders are available now for North America and Europe. Japan's scheduled to begin pre-orders in mid-January. So it's $145 for an emote. If you bought the Odin one, why not, right? You already committed that much at the very least. Let's see. Next, they showed off that Y'shtola's in Dissidia. This is a video that's been on the Dissidia YouTube channel for a few days, I believe, or the Square Enix Japanese YouTube channel for a few days now. It's basically just a teaser of Y'shtola's individual story. For anyone wondering why she's in her Heavensward garb here, Dissidia NT takes place when it pulls the characters from their respective games. It pulls them from a specific point in time relative to what they were actually participating in story-wise. Lightning in her story mode shows up in her Lightning Return garb. I believe Cloud shows up in his Advent Children garb. Hence, Y'shtola, this obviously takes place sometime during or after Heavensward, so she has her Heavensward garb for that one. Her other garb is in the game, but that one looks pretty cool. So anyway, then they just showed off, there's another screen right there, showed off the nano blocks again, they showed off the second compilation of Yoshida Uncensored, which was in Famitsu Magazine. That'll be in paperback format on February 7th. Also, they have a new Eorzea Cafe update. They're going to be doing a Starlight Celebration collaboration with the Eorzea Cafe, with a jumbo cakepot for a cake, and I'm just jealous that I can't go because I'm not in Japan. This is the sculpture. They're doing a giant sculpture for the 69th Sapporo Snow Festival. So they're doing a giant ice sculpture of Nidhogg and Estinian. So that's going to be pretty cool. They showed a little bit of work being done on them, the smaller scale ones, so they could use them for the eventual larger scale one. Yeah. 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 Anyway, the next Fate will be in Japan. This is the next... there will be a live letter from this event, but this is not the next live letter. The next live letter is January 19th. This will be the 4.25 live letter, which will be previewing Eureka, the Forbidden Land. It's also a live event. They always invite like a couple hundred people to attend events like this whenever they do a Fate. Why it's important? Fate or where the producer live letters are held. Yep, so there you go. January 19th for XLI, for number 41. And 42 will be just a couple weeks after that. So we'll get 2 back-to-back live letters, and probably silence until, like, I don't know, maybe end of March or beginning of April. And then we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Moving on. If you haven't seen this, go to the Final Fantasy XIV, I think the Japanese YouTube one. Maybe the English one has it too. This was great. This was basically a collaboration to teach players Final Fantasy XIV. It's a Japanese only, but it's hilarious. It's called The Two Yoshidas. Just go watch it. Even if you don't understand Japanese, it's pretty funny. And then they had the other Yoshida who's on that little skit. That guy, they had somebody come in with like a bunch of pre-recorded audio lines dressed as him. And Yoshida started crying in laughter just sitting next to this guy. Just because he keeps going, Yoshida! Yoshida! And he won't stop. He just straight up won't stop. And then that's it. That was where the end of it was. Iluna still working on the unofficial translation. Still going back, making edits. So thank you for all your hard work, Iluna. Thank you again, Hezkezel. And it said, I thank Kavensky again, because I thanked Kavensky last time. I just pulled the same text I believe I had there. But all the same, thank you so much for the Reddit Discord translation tab, for doing all this work, for doing all the screenshots, for doing all the text translations when necessary, when the slides weren't covering the stuff that was there. One of my favorite things that my chat's pointing out to me right now that I saw was that he's got a faucet around his neck. He even pointed it out. He even like lifted it up and he was showing it to him. So I wish I understood Japanese so I know what was going on. But yeah, and that was it for the 40th producer live letter. Let me switch over to the official translations real quick before I take a sip of this. And see if there was anything else I wanted to add. Well, that's the right tab, but that's not the... There we go. So, let's see. We'll go back to the first page real quick. See if there's anything at all that I would have missed. New main scenario. New side quest. Here's, Hildebrand's going to be 4.25. Ananta in 4.2. New dungeon, Hell's Lid, Fractal Continuum. Sigmascape. Byakko and the Jade Stoa. Forbidden Land of Eureka. Here's where they say 4.25. Just so you see it highlighted right there. And then all the things about notorious monsters, strengthening your weapons and gear inside Eureka, leveling aspects, all those things we were mentioning earlier. Job adjustments, here's where they mentioned Black Mage and usability of warriors, but they'll talk about that later. The PvP updates, which we went in great detail. Glamour updates, inventory updates, housing updates. Simply put, the Chocobo saddlebags, or 70 extra inventory slots. Yeah, this is all pretty normal stuff from what we expected. Or some of it's just kind of like right off the slide. Nothing new about subaquatic voyages, nothing really new about performance actions other than the current lag of about 0.2 seconds until the sound is played. The new Tombstone Mendacity, the new main scenario dungeons may extend the duration of the dungeon, however we've increased the rewards as well. Hidden Canals of Ozdnir getting adjustments, and the leveling from 50 to 60 for Disciples of Hand in particular. Here's all the rule revisions we went over. I don't think there's anything new here. And going over to the second page. Use your regular glamours as well. That was an important thing that we saw. Role restrictions will still remain. That's something I didn't mention earlier with glamours, with the glamour ensembles. Role restrictions will still be in place with those. You'll be able to create macros which can swap ensembles along with gear set macros, worth mentioning. Add items you are most likely to use for glamour. Dies can be applied per ensemble. We mentioned that already. And then the armoire items we already clarified earlier. Duty recorder, I don't think there's anything much that's new here. It's just stuff from the slide, and then the inventory update stuff that we mentioned earlier. Keep in mind, you will have access to saddlebags even if the chocobo is stable. So if you're like, oh, I guess I got to take my chocobo out of its stable now, somehow you're still able to access it from far away, which also tells me that while you can't use it while you're in instanced dungeons, it tells me that you probably can at least access it from the companion screen without having to actually summon your chocobo. Otherwise, there'd be no way to, unless they're saying you have to go to the stable to access it, but that's not exclusively said here. So there you go. At least you know that. That's just a little bit more information regarding the Chocobo stables. But anyway, that's everything from the live letter. I'm sure there are still some things that need to be clarified or things I flubbed up on here, so apologies regarding those. But thank you again for the official translation work done by the Square Enix team. Thank you for the unofficial work done by Reddit. Thank you for everyone who's hanging out in the chat while we were enjoying this. And thank you to everyone watching this over here on YouTube. Appreciate the support and appreciate you enjoying this. Hopefully you're on the lookout for 4.2. We'll, of course, be doing this again for the next live letter on January 19th. But on that note, I've got a live stream, a normal live stream day to go about. So I will see you all in the next video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you then. Until then, take care. All right, there we go.